All right, so we're diving into the world of luxury real estate. In Phuket, Thailand, no less, we're going to see if Airbnb is actually a smart move there.
Sounds like a dream.
Well, that's what we're here to figure out. We've got a ton of research, some recent articles about real estate trends, and even some stories of people who've tried the whole Airbnb thing in Phuket. Some did great, some, well, not so much.
Yeah, those lessons learned can be valuable.
Exactly. By the end of this, you'll know the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you can decide if this tropical investment is for you.
It's definitely a hot market right now. I mean, Phuket has seen some serious jumps in property value, some areas even 10–15% recently.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, and the experts, they're predicting it'll keep going up, like 15–20% every year in the coming years.
So by 2025, what? It's going to be worth a fortune.
You could say that.
Hmm,
Projections put the market at something like 4.1 billion US dollars. It's mind-blowing.
that's incredible. But what's driving all this growth? I mean, yeah, the beaches are amazing, and who wouldn't want a piece of paradise? But there's got to be more to it, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's not just the beaches, though they definitely help. There's a whole mix of global investors fueling this boom.
So it's not just a local thing.
Yep. Right now, Russian buyers are leading the pack, probably around 70% of foreign purchases.
Really? That many?
It's quite a lot. But there's buzz that Chinese investors are eyeing a comeback.
Interesting. So global interest is a good sign. But let's talk Airbnb specifically. How does Phuket compare to, say, Bali, which has always been a hot spot?
That's a great question. While Bali's been the go-to for a while, Phuket's really stepping up its game, especially in the luxury market.
So it's attracting a different kind of traveler.
Yeah, think less backpackers, more high-end experiences. It's got this unique blend of beaches, culture, and a booming luxury real estate scene.
Sounds like a different vibe altogether.
It is.
Okay, so we've got this niche within Phuket's Airbnb market, but how many listings are we talking?
Roughly 15,000.
15,000. That's a lot of competition.
It can be, yeah.
So for someone wanting to jump in, what's the average daily rate they could expect? And does that translate into good money?
The average is around $110 per day, so potentially you could be looking at $1,100 per month. But, and this is a big but, typical rental yields in Phuket are below 5%.
So not exactly a gold rush then.
Not really. It's more of a long game, think strategic, long-term investment for property appreciation.
Okay, steady growth over quick cash. Makes sense. Now, location, 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 right? We hear a lot about Patong, Qaeda, and Karan. What's the hype about?
Well, those are your classic tourist hubs, beautiful beaches, nightlife, tons of stuff to do. They're a pretty safe bet for attracting those short-term vacationers.
Sounds great, but I bet it costs a pretty penny to get in on that action.
Yeah, they come with a higher price tag, and let's not forget the competition. It can be fierce.
So high demand, but also high investment. Got it. But what about those hidden gems? Are there any up-and-coming areas where someone could snag a good deal?
Oh, definitely. Exploring those emerging areas is a smart move. You might find lower entry costs and the potential for serious appreciation as the area grows.
So kind of like getting in early before everyone else catches on.
Exactly. You're essentially betting on the future growth of that location.
I like that. It's strategic. Okay, so let's say you found your perfect spot. What are some tips for making that rental income skyrocket, really standing out?
First impressions are key. Think high-quality photos. You're selling an experience, and those pictures better be good.
Like professional good.
Absolutely. Would you book a stay based on blurry, dark photos? I wouldn't.
Nope, not a chance. You need those photos to scream dream vacation. What about amenities? What do people really look for?
Amenities can be deal breakers. These days, reliable Wi-Fi, air conditioning, a private pool, those are almost non-negotiables, especially for the luxury traveler.
Right, they expect the perks. It's all part of the package.
Exactly. Those perks are what justify those higher prices.
Makes sense. So we've got the visuals, the amenities. What about pricing? Tourism has its seasons, right? So how do you make the most of that?
Dynamic pricing is your best friend. Adjust your rates based on demand. Peak season, charge a premium. Off-season, offer discounts, or maybe consider longer stays.
So it's about being flexible and rolling at the punches, but managing an Airbnb, especially from far away, it can be a lot, right? What are those professional management services?
They can be a lifesaver,
Oh.
especially if you're not living in Phuket full-time. They handle everything: cleaning, guest communication, even marketing and maintenance.
So you can just sit back and relax.
Well, not exactly, but it takes a huge load off. You still need to stay involved, but they handle the day-to-day stuff.
So it's about finding that balance. Now, I know some people listening might be thinking, wait, can foreigners even own property in Thailand?
That's a great question, and the answer is a bit tricky. Foreigners can't directly own land in Thailand, but there are ways to invest. Leasehold agreements are common.
Leasehold agreements. Can you break that down for us?
Sure. It basically means you own the building, but lease the land for a certain period, usually up to 30 years, and there's usually an option to renew.
So you don't own the land itself.
Right. You have the right to use and develop it for a long time, but it's not outright ownership.
That's a key difference. And what about renewing? Any catches there?
Well, those renewal terms are super important. Most agreements have options, but you need to know the conditions and costs involved.
So getting a good lawyer is essential.
Absolutely. You need someone on your side to make sure the agreement is fair and protects you.
Got it. Due diligence is key here. What about other legal things, like taxes? How does Phuket compare to other places in terms of taxes on property?
That's a good question. Thailand does have property taxes, but they're generally considered pretty competitive compared to other popular spots in Southeast Asia.
So not too bad.
Relatively speaking, no. But you still need to know what you're dealing with. There are a few key taxes to be aware of.
Like what?
Okay, so there's a transfer fee, usually 2% of the property's value, paid when it changes hands. Then you've got stamp duty, which is 0.5% of the sale value, payable when you register the property. And lastly, there's a withholding tax on rental income or capital gains, usually 1% for individuals.
Wow, a lot to keep track of.
Definitely. Having a tax expert on speed dial wouldn't hurt.
For sure. So we've covered a lot of ground already, from those dreamy beaches to the legal stuff, but there's more to uncover, right?
Definitely. We're just getting started. Next, we'll dig into how new infrastructure projects are shaping Phuket's real estate and what that means for property values. We'll talk about the Wang Mai Ko Kai Highway and even the possibility of a monorail system, all things that are making Phuket even more attractive.
And we can't forget those real-life stories. We'll look at properties that brought in serious returns and dissect the lessons learned from both the wins and the not-so-wins. Stay tuned. We've covered the legal ins and outs, all those rules and regs, but Phuket's not just about paperwork, right? There are some pretty exciting things happening on the ground, too.
Oh, definitely. Phuket's changing fast, and that's attracting a lot of attention from investors.
For sure. Infrastructure can make or break a region, especially its real estate. What are some of the big projects in Phuket that are catching investors' eyes?
Well, one that's on everyone's radar is the Wang Mai Ko Kai Highway. It's going to be huge.
I've heard bits and pieces about it. What's the big deal with this highway? How's it going to change things?
This isn't just some local road. It's going to connect Phuket's airport all the way to Krabi and Phang Nga. That's a game changer for accessibility.
Wow, so we're talking about opening up Phuket to a whole new level of connectivity.
Exactly. It's not just about tourists either. Think about it. Easier access means businesses might be more likely to invest, trade could increase. It could really boost Phuket's whole economy.
Right, it's like a ripple effect. And I bet the locals are happy about it too. Less traffic, easier to get around.
Definitely. Smoother commutes, less congestion. It benefits everyone. And there's even talk of a monorail, can you imagine? Connecting the airport right to Phuket town.
A monorail. Seriously. That's ambitious. It sounds like Phuket's going all in on modern transportation.
It's a sign of progress for sure. And it's not just transportation. Phuket's transforming in other ways too.
Like what? What else is happening?
Well, there's a big push to expand commercial areas, improve public transport, build new housing. Even luxury hotels and resorts are popping up. They're really trying to make Phuket a better place for everyone, locals, businesses, tourists, the whole package.
So Phuket's really upping its game. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. We talked about success stories, those properties that raked in the big bucks on Airbnb. But what about the other side of the coin? What about investors who didn't quite hit the mark? What went wrong?
Right. It's important to remember that not every investment is a guaranteed win.
Right.
Phuket has tons of potential, but there are always risks. One mistake people make is not doing enough research.
So not just jumping in head first, blinded by the beauty of it all.
Exactly. Some people get swept up in the excitement and forget to do their due diligence. They end up in a bad location or overpay for a property.
It's like anything else. You got to know what you're getting into. What other pitfalls should investors watch out for?
Another big one is underestimating the importance of good management. Especially if you're not living there full time, managing an Airbnb can be a real headache.
Yeah, I can imagine. What are some of the things that can trip people up?
Well, neglecting maintenance, giving guests a bad experience, not adjusting prices to match demand, all those things can lead to empty rooms and lost income.
So it's not as passive as some people might think. You got to be involved, even if you have a management company.
Absolutely. Investing in Phuket's real estate takes a mix of passion and a good dose of reality. It's about loving the island, but also being smart about the business side of things.
Right, it's about finding that balance. So for someone who's seriously considering Phuket's Airbnb market, what's the one piece of advice you'd give them?
I'd say don't just focus on the surface.
Yeah.
Yeah, Phuket's got those beautiful beaches and that relaxed vibe, but there's more to it than meets the eye.
So go deeper, look beyond the postcard.
Exactly.
Huh?
Phuket offers a fantastic opportunity, but you got to be realistic.
What do you mean by realistic?
It's about understanding the potential rewards, but also the challenges. You got to do your research, talk to the pros, and create a solid plan.
So be informed, be prepared, and have a strategy. That sounds like solid advice. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
The allure of Phuket, the potential of Airbnb, even those tricky legal bits, and the exciting new developments. But let's get back to the heart of the matter. Is Airbnb really a wise investment in Phuket?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? The million-dollar question. And like with most investments, it's not a simple yes or no.
I figured as much. There's always more to it, right? That's why we wanted to do this deep dive. It's a popular topic. So what are the things someone should really think about before jumping in?
Phuket's got it all. Stunning beauty, a tourism industry that's booming, and a strong economy. But
Hmm.
you got to be realistic. It's not some quick path to riches.
It's not just about owning a slice of paradise, is it? What are some of the big things we've learned here that potential investors should keep in mind?
Location, location, location. That's always key. Whether you go for a busy tourist spot or an up-and-coming area, do your homework. Really understand the local market, what's planned for the future, who you're trying to attract.
Right, match your investment to your goals and your knowledge of the market. And we can't forget about those photos. Got to have those professional shots and those tempting amenities, especially for those luxury travelers.
You said it. In the Airbnb world, presentation matters. Great photos, well-chosen amenities, even those little extra touches like a welcome gift can really make a difference. It elevates the experience and justifies those higher prices.
And strategic pricing is key too, right? We talked about that. Tourism ebbs and flows, so being able to adapt is essential.
Dynamic pricing, that's the name of the game. Take advantage of those peak seasons, but also attract guests during the off-season with tempting rates. And don't forget about long-term rentals during those slower periods. Keeps that income flowing.
You know, for me, one of the biggest takeaways has been the legal side of things. Lease agreements, property taxes, it can get complicated. Having a good lawyer on your side seems crucial.
Absolutely. Phuket's real estate market is exciting, but it requires careful planning. Don't be afraid to ask the tough questions, get expert advice, make sure everything lines up with your goals and how much risk you're comfortable with.
So after all this, what's the verdict? Is Phuket's Airbnb market worth it?
You know, I think it is. For those who are willing to put in the effort, do their research, and be strategic, Phuket offers a unique opportunity. It's a chance to own a little piece of paradise, make some income, and potentially see your investment grow over time. But it's not a passive thing.
It's about being involved, staying informed, being an active investor.
Exactly. Phuket's market is always changing. You got to be flexible, adapt to the trends, stay ahead of the curve. If you have that mindset and approach it with a balanced view, I think Phuket could be a really rewarding and fulfilling investment journey.
That's a great way to put it. Rewarding and fulfilling. That sums up everything we've talked about today. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want you to think about what stood out to you. What are you going to take away from this? What new questions do you have? Maybe those questions will be the starting point for our next deep dive. Until then, happy investing.